Have you ever found yourself just scrolling, like endlessly, and then you kind of snap out of it and wonder, why? Why am I doing this? What is it about these apps that just keeps us so hooked? Well, today, we're going to dive in and explore the invisible psychological strings that pull us in, one click, one share at a time.
Right? I mean, think about it. You've probably joined a bunch of online groups over the years. Some of them are just crickets, total ghost towns. But others, they feel like this buzzing, vibrant party that you never want to leave. So what's the deal? Why does one community just click while another one totally bombs?
Well, here's the secret. It is not an accident. It's not random. There's a real science to it, a hidden architecture that's built on decades of research into communication theory. These are basically the blueprints social media platforms use to build their entire digital world.
So let's start decoding, shall we? We're going to pull back the curtain and look at the actual psychological code that makes our feeds tick.
And you know, it all really begins with us. To understand the feed, you first have to understand the person staring at it. So let's jump into the theories that explain how we build our identities online.
Okay, so first up is something called social identity theory. The big idea here is that our sense of who we are isn't just something that comes from inside. A huge part of it is built from the groups we belong to. You can think of every online community as its own little tribe, and each one shapes a piece of our identity.
And you see this in action everywhere. I mean, think about why you use different platforms. You might hop on Instagram for that quick hit of affirmation, right? For that validation. Then you go to Facebook to actually keep up with your friends and family. And then there's LinkedIn where you put on your professional face. Each app is like a different sandbox for our identity, letting us play out a different part of who we are.
And then you've got this other huge one, social learning theory. And honestly, it's pretty simple. We're mimics. We are absolute copycats. We see what gets the likes, what gets shared, and what gets canceled, and we instinctively adjust what we do. We're all just constantly learning the unwritten rules of our digital tribes. This brings us to my favorite example, memes. Oh man, memes are basically social learning on steroids. They are these tiny, super viral packets of culture that spread from one brain to another, leaving this little imprint, almost like a brain tattoo that literally changes how we see things. Think about the distracted boyfriend meme. It became this whole visual language that millions of us learned to speak overnight without a single lesson.
And look, this is really just scratching the surface. There are all these other powerful tools at play, like priming an audience to think a certain way, or framing a story to get a very specific emotional reaction. It's all about setting the psychological stage before the show even starts.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about the me in social media, but what about the we? How do we go from just being individual users scrolling alone to actually forming real connections with each other online?
Well, a lot of it comes down to a really simple trade-off. Psychologists call it social exchange theory, but you can just think of it as the what's in it for me principle. We give our attention, our likes, our follows, and in exchange we expect to get something valuable back. It's got to feel like a fair deal, or we're out.
So, picture a food blogger you like. They share this amazing, free recipe that's their offer of value. In return, what do? You give them a follow, maybe you engage with their posts, maybe you even buy their cookbook. It's this constant back and forth, this flow of value for value. It's like a social contract we're all signing every single day.
But of course, we're not just looking for transactions, are we? We're human. We want real, genuine connection. And that's where social penetration theory comes in. The best way to think about it is like peeling an onion. Real relationships, whether online or off, are built layer by layer through this gradual process of sharing a bit more about ourselves over time.
And this really gets to the core of it all. Trust is not built on that perfectly curated, glossy feed. No way. It's built on authenticity. It means sharing real stories, not just the highlight reel. It means being a little bit vulnerable and letting people see the messy, human side of you or your brand. That is the only way to earn that deep, genuine trust.
All right, so we have our identity and we know how connection works. So for the final piece of this puzzle, how do you take all of that and build an actual community that lasts?
So just think about your own followers for a second. You've got what we call weak ties, the random people you followed once and kind of forgot about. And then you have your strong ties. These are the people you actually talk to, the relationships that feel real. And the goal for anyone building a community is to turn those weak ties into strong ones.
And you can really feel the difference, can't you? Weak ties, they're flimsy, they fizzle out, they're built on really superficial stuff. But strong ties? Those are the ones that stand the test of time. They're anchored in real trust and shared meaning. Those are the connections that can weather any internet storm.
So, how do you actually forge those strong ties? Well, it really boils down to 3 essential things. It's got to be relevant. You have to give people something they actually want and care about. The quality has to be there. Nobody wants to stick around for junk. And finally, it has to be timely, because let's face it, the internet moves at the speed of light.
Because when you strip away all the theories and the algorithms and the marketing tactics, you're left with one simple, powerful, human truth. People just want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. And more than anything, they want to feel that someone out there understands them.
So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you're about to hit post or share, just take a second and ask yourself, am I just adding more noise to the internet, or am I trying to build something real? How are you going to make your corner of the internet a place where people feel truly, deeply understood?